This week I learned any plans during the holidays, forget about it. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update. Only a few more of these left in all of 2022. But guys, we are about halfway through the month of December. The holidays are coming quick, right? And lots of things are kind of complicating issues here on the channel. We're going to talk about that. But we're going to begin, like usual, guys, talking about what am I reading. I did finish Kings of Ash by Mr. Richard Nail. Nail. I always want to say Nail, even though it's Nell. We talked about this when we talked on the live stream together. But with this book, it was not exactly what I was expecting. I think, and I've said before, I feel like I am one of those people who likes beginnings of books better, because everyone almost unanimously said this is a better book than book one, where I still think I like book one better. Even though this book had much less Dala, which was fine by me, I don't know. There was just something about book one that I think I kind of went into this with the expectations of, okay, we've set up these Bane 2 characters. Now there's going to be convergence. And instead, this book plays around with timelines a lot, which is fine. It's fine. I have no problem with that. I actually enjoyed what was there. It's just I was ready for these two characters to be in the same story together, and I didn't really get that. So again, that's not a criticism of this book. It's something that's just not giving what it's kind of like I said about Fall of Hyperion, is that it wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't exactly what I was wanting out of it. And then when I kind of do get those moments, I feel like they kind of let me down a little bit. So I'm definitely not saying that this isn't a book that I'm not going to recommend to you, because I think that people who view this channel are going to like this book quite a bit. And I didn't dislike it. I just didn't get what I was hoping for out of it, if that makes any sense to anyone. So again, guys, and that's a very unpopular opinion. All you have to do is look around BookTube, look around Goodreads, read any review you can find for this book, and almost everyone says this book is better than book one, except for me. So I think that your mileage is going to vary on that one. But it does have me to where I don't know how anxious I am to read book number 3 right now. It's definitely not a series I'm going to quit, because I think that Ruka is an absolutely compelling character that I actually want to know how this story is going to resolve. It's just that there's some things in the third act just completely let me down in this, and it got to where, like, I need to take a break from that and come back. It's not going to be 2 years this time, but come back to it a little bit later. So I won't be reading that in December as I had planned, just because I think maybe taking some distance between this and the next book might help more. Because right now I'd be going to book 3 with my arms crossed, because I don't like some things that happened in book 2. But again, Mr. Nell, Richard is an awesome writer, and I think it's a really great idea that he has with the story, and I think it's going to work for more people than not. So that's just my take on it. Again, I encourage you to please pick the book up, because I think that you're probably going to end up liking it probably a lot more than I did. But again, like I said, I didn't dislike it. I know it sounds like I got one foot in, one foot out, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just saying that it kind of disappointed me in some regards, but I still think it was a good read, if that makes any sense. So before I started something heavier, I said, I think I need to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit, as it were. So I said, it's finally time to get back to Drizzt and some Forgotten Realms. So I picked up Streams of Silver. This is book number 2 of the Icewind Dale trilogy, book number 5 in Drizzt overall. And yeah, guys, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I always have a great time when it comes to a Drizzt book. I think they're 5 for 5 for me now. And the thing about this is, everyone said, oh, I think you're making a mistake reading the Dark Elf trilogy before Icewind Dale, because his writing style got better. So when you read them out of order, you're going to find this like absolutely unreadable. Never happened to me once, guys. I had a great time with this. I don't have a problem with this writing style at all. I like these books because, guys, are low commitment. They're a smaller-ish cast. I mean, it's still, about a dozen main characters are kind of floating around, but it's a smaller-ish cast than a lot of modern fantasy, and it's just fun throwback fantasy. This one's very, very much a throwback to The Hobbit, and I never have a criticism of that when I go back to stuff pre-90s with fantasy, because I've constantly said, I said this on my Wheel of Time reviews, that if you weren't writing fantasy like J.R.R. Tolkien in the late 80s, you weren't getting published. So I kind of full-on expected that. Now, I expect Drizzt to change a little bit after we get to maybe the Legacy of the Drow series. I think things will change a little bit. But as of right now, yeah, it definitely feels very, very Middle-earthy. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that quite a bit. But what I liked about, liking about Icewind Dale better than the Dark Elf trilogy So I'm liking him traveling with a group of characters, having friends and stuff. Whereas the Dark Elf was very much a solo adventure, and that's why I just kind of bounce from place to place. With this, it feels like he's got a family and friends, and I like that. I like that a lot. Even though I will say there was a death in it that was really shocking to me, because I just felt like throwback traditional fantasy like this, your main characters are always safe. So it was really, really surprising that there was a big character death in the final act. But what a final act it was. And I love that Drizzt does seem to have like an adversary now in Artemis Intrari. What a compelling villain that character is. So I want to know more about that one. And I guess we'll find that out in the conclusion to that trilogy, which I might be doing it rather soon. Guys, I did tell you last week, if I had time, I was going to start reading Vinland again. Well, I did. I read the entire Farmland Slave Arc, I think it's called, volume number 5, volume number 6. And I think these got more expensive once you get past 6, because I looked up to buy 7 and it was like $40. And I was like, wow. So I just decided to read my digital of Omnibus number 7. And guys, it's great. Now look, I'm going to say it's very, very different than the prologue arc. Very, very different. And at first, I'm not going to lie, at first I was like, man, I don't know. I like Thorfinn just being just like a badass assassin, slicing everyone up. I'm missing those characters from that arc and things like that. But after you got through a few issues, or chapters, I think they're called in manga, it really got to a point where, like, okay, this is giving some depth to Thorfinn. I'm really actually kind of liking this new arc that they're taking with him. And it's led me enough to guys to have the very, very hot take to say, I think 7 omnibus in, I think right now that while the Golden Age arc was incredible and some of the best stuff I've ever read, I think that Vinland Saga is overall a better manga for me than Berserk has been. And I think it's because Black Swordsman, okay. Golden Age, amazing. God, what was the one after that called? Redemption? God, I can't remember what it was called. The third arc of Berserk. Anyway, I thought it was really, really good. And then I thought Falcon Millennium Empire was kind of sloggy and maybe somewhat disappointing. Whereas this, okay, I'm this much into it, seven omnibus now, which I think is 14 trades. So obviously not as much ground covered as in Berserk, but I'm saying this far in so far, I'm enjoying this more than I enjoyed Berserk, and that's even with the Golden Age being absolutely amazing. So I'm not saying that you can't love both. I'm just saying right now, it's going to be easy for me, guys, because I'm all about Nordic history and stuff like that. I think the Viking stuff is just, everything. It's awesome. So it was going to be easy for me to pick that over the other. But, this could change. This could get sloggy. This could get boring. This could get dull. I'm not really sure. But as of right now, I'm still really, really loving everything about it. But though I will say Kentaro Miura is a better artist. But again, I think he's the best. He's probably the best I've ever seen. So Vinland Saga, very good, guys. I don't know when I'm going to continue with the next arc. I don't even know what the next arc is called. If it's an arc, some people have said there's like mini arcs next. I'm not really sure if it does the whole arc thing like a series like Berserk does. But as far as when I'm going to continue with volume number 8, I'm not really sure. Sorry. Omnibus number 8, I'm not really sure, but I do have up through 11, I think, on my iPad on digital, so I'll probably get back to them then. But yes, guys, Vinland Saga, it is great. I don't care if you're into manga at all. I think this is a great gateway manga. If you haven't been resistant, been like, I'm not really interested, but you know what? U.S. comics kind of suck right now. I think this one's great, especially for viewers of this channel, because I know what you guys are into, and I think you'd like this quite a bit. I did, guys, make the decision. I did put up a poll recently what you guys thought about it, to start reading Percy Jackson with my kid, and we have done that. I was going to try to sell it to him, and he's real into Greek mythology right now. He did a report in school on the 12 labors of Hercules, and he got real interested in it. And I saw him watching YouTube documentaries on Greek mythology and stuff. I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. And so he got this game on Game Pass called Mortals Phoenix Rising, and it is all about gods and monsters of Greek mythology, and he just ate it up. So I said, this is the perfect time, I think, to try to push this series on him. And yeah, we're reading like a chapter or two per night, but we're already halfway through, because if you guys know, these books aren't complicated reads. I said that I read this series a while back. I only read the first book. I think I talked about it last week. And in fact, I might be repeating the story. I'm sorry if I am, but we've gotten about halfway through this first book now, and he's loving it. He's having a great time with it. He's already got a ton of theories. I've been putting those theories on the Discord, and people who have read the series are just absolutely loving seeing it from that viewpoint, because it's giving them some throwback, some nostalgia to when they first read it, because they're all much younger than me. But yeah, it's a lot of fun sharing this with them. I'm not above, reading something that's way below I think Driss is way below my reading level, but I'm having a great time with it. So not everything has to be, super complex and complicated. That's what my other books that I'm reading are for. And guys, that leads me into what am I going to read. I did start Ashes of Man, the new Sun Eater book by Mr. Rockio, and that one is probably above my reading level, because already a couple times I've had to, click, what does that word mean? And been like, reread that, been like, what's he talking about there? Is this a dream, or is this actually happening? Just some good old things that Mr. Rockio makes us do. I've said before that I feel like, besides Malazan, this might be the series that makes me question the most. Is this a vision, or is this actually happening? In kind of that Malazan-y way. So anytime there's a new Sun Eater book, obviously it's going to be high priority. And I'm interested to see where he's going to go this go-around, because with what happened at the end of Kingdoms of Death, it's like, well, I don't really see where there is to go after this. But, Christopher's going to keep surprising me, I think. And that's pretty much my plan, for this week. Going to continue reading Lightning Thief with my kid. Going to continue working on Lonesome Crown. I think I'm about 35% into that right now, and I'm enjoying that slow burn. Guys, I do have vacation the week after Christmas through New Year, so I will have some extra time here soon. Things have just been nuts. I'll talk about in a minute. And say I have some extra time, or say I get too bogged down a little bit with Sun Eater, I do have the next Driss book on deck. This is the Halfling's Gem. Find out what's the fate of Regis the Halfling and that nice little ruby he's got around his neck. I'm anxious to see how he wraps this one up, because when it came to Dark Elf, I liked the first two books a lot, but the third book was So I'm curious to see if is he one of those authors, Mr. Salvatore, is he one of those authors who has a hard time wrapping up his trilogies, or is that just because it was a fill-in-the-blanks kind of trilogy before? We'll find out how I feel when I finish the Halfling's Gem. And that's pretty much what I've got through most of the holidays in the plan. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time. I got mixing a little sci-fi, fantasy, and some YA in there. Got everything you can ask for on a reading schedule. But guys, let's talk about this week on the channel. Family stuff every single night this week, as the holidays would dictate. We had Christmas stuff, we had school stuff, we had Boy Scout stuff, we had our actual own stuff. I had work holiday parties. I had to go to her work holiday party. It's just been one of those months where, as you would expect this time of year, things just got kind of crazy, and so it kind of bogged down. I recorded 2 videos over the weekend, and that's all I was able to put up on the channel this week. My most anticipated books of 2023 is always something fun to talk about, things that we are looking forward to. That wasn't, like I said, an announcement or anything. These are all books that, relatively close to the release date, I'd like to try to read. There's only a few on there that I'm saying, okay, look, the minute it is in my hand, I am starting it, like Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, obviously is the biggest one on there. But there are other books, I'm not even positive that they're coming out next year, but, if they stick to the schedule they have been doing, they should come out this year. But anytime you get to talk about some books that are coming out and people are excited about them, yeah, and that's how you learn about some new things. I remember last year when I made that, right before I started filming, I said, maybe I'll try this Justice of Kings, because I just got a review copy. Maybe I'll try it out. And it was a great book. In fact, I'm trying to get book number 2 right now from NetGalley, but they're taking forever to approve me. But again, I think everyone's always excited to talk about the books that they're looking forward to in the future. And then I finally followed up my Ranking Stephen King Part 2 with part number 3. It was only an 8-month wait, you guys. This is the years 1990 through 1997. That's going from 4 Past Midnight all the way through Wizard and Glass, Dark Tower number 4. Breaking it up like that while I go along. If you see, that video is almost a half hour long, and all I talk about is 8 books. So again, that's a good reason to break this series up. If not, if I try to do it like Jaime did over on the horror show, it would have been like a 4-hour video. So I said, in the end, it'll probably will be a 4-hour video, but breaking it up in parts like this, along with my reread. Because like I said, a lot of these, I'm taking my time because a lot of these are rereads, because I haven't read a lot of these since I was a teenager, and I'm sure I'd feel differently about them now. Like, for example, I just reread Desperation, didn't remember about 80% of that book. So I think that enough years have gone by, I need to revisit some of those things before I feel safe about ranking them on that list. So this is my favorite author, guys, so I have to take my time with it. So now that was a long wait for part 3. There's going to be an even longer wait for part 4, because there is a lot of those books I don't remember a thing about. But I'm thinking I'm going to go... I think I'll right up through like 2004 or so with the next one is the plan as of the moment. But hey, I hope you guys did enjoy it. Hope you guys weren't too mad about any of my rankings. I know there were a couple of them on there that I think that might have actually surprised some people. But hey, anytime we get to talk about the multiverse as a whole and rank those books, it's a lot of fun, but it is very, very hard. And I won't lie, there's some things I'm already looking at being like, from back in like part 1 and 2, where I'm like, man, I feel like I should have done that differently. But I'm not going to change it. I'm going to continue to keep it where it is. But do have a couple things planned for next week, guys. Tomorrow, Saturday, the 17th, 7 p.m. Houston time. Now, you can use timeanddate.com to find out what time that is where you are, but I will be going live for Saturday Night Nights number 5. Now, this is going to be with 3 amazing guests. First, we have Jordan from over at iWizard. I've talked Song of Ice and Fire with him a couple of times. We're going to be having Tori from Tori Talks. Is actually a YouTuber I just actually learned about recently, but she is really, really awesome. We talked on Twitter a lot, and I'm anxious to see how we gel together. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And then, of course, we've got the best beard in the game, Theo from the Rekindle Reader, making his first appearance on the channel. I'm very excited to talk to all 3 of these folks because I think it's just going to be a swell time. If you guys have watched Saturday Night Nights before, you know that there are no rules. Anything can and will happen, like your phone ringing in the middle of your video, right? Always happens. Always, always happens. But yeah, that'll be happening tomorrow, guys. Then I'll be talking about some more of my end of the year content with my biggest disappointments of 2022. Now, I've said before that I feel like everyone loves a good negative video, right? And I don't look at it as like a negative thing, because I always say is that I don't think that these are books that are actually disappointments. This didn't land for me. They didn't meet my expectations. I know it sounds like I'm hedging a little bit on this, but with me, it's just like I'm never going to call something bad because I know that someone else is probably going to find it great, especially because I don't read a lot of books that don't come highly recommended, so it'd be really, really hard for me to say it's actually a bad book. It's just sometimes they don't land for me, so I would call that a disappointment to me, not necessarily to you. Another one for 2023, this is going to be, I'm moving my TBR videos to monthly. I usually do those by quarter, but people have asked me to start doing those monthly so I can talk a little bit more about each book, and that is going to be my January of 2023 TBR. Now, I'll try to do that January, February, March. If you guys don't like it as much, I'll go back to the quarter ones as I've been doing for the last 3 years. So it'd be a nice little experiment there. And then I got like maybe a little bit of a surprise review for you guys next week. I got a little clue in this video for what it might be. It's up to you guys if you can find it or not. But I think it's time for me to go back to a certain universe and review a particular book that I reread earlier this year, and you can see if you can figure out what book that's going to be. I've been working on a nice introduction for it for the last couple days, and I think it's going to be awesome, especially since it's cold outside right now and winter is coming. If you guys don't get the hint here, I'm going to be reviewing a nice book sometime next week, and I'm excited to do it because it is one of my favorite series of all time. Now, before I go, guys, there are some TV and movie talk things. Yes, it does seem that James Gunn is giving DC the hard reboot. He did announce that Henry Cavill is Superman no longer, just like I told you guys. Look, I hate it because I love Henry Cavill. I think he's a great Superman. But here's the thing, guys. You can't ask James Gunn to come in and fix someone else's baggage. You can't tell him you need to right the ship, but here, I'm going to give you a ship that's got so many holes it looks like Swiss cheese. So I knew if the new boss over there at Warner Brothers Discovery was going to give him a clean slate, the option for a clean slate, he was going to take it, as hard as it was. And here's the thing, guys, is it's so weird how I'm hearing like this huge outcry about the DCEU now, because for the last decade, most of you have trashed every single movie that has come out. Every single one. And now you're acting like it's some travesty that James Gunn wants to start it over. Look, as far as like casting, look, I think Henry Cavill was a perfect Superman. I think he was great. I think he looked the part. He was basically in real life, this guy is Clark Kent. He really is. So I get why people are upset about that. I think it sucks too. But with me, when it comes, guys, I grew up a James Bond fan, a Batman fan, and recently a Doctor Who fan. You get used to that role being recast. And every single time there's a new casting, you think you're going to hate it, and you end up usually liking it. So I'm seeing that a lot with Wonder Woman, too. Like, oh, you'll never get a better person than Gal Gadot. You guys cried a river when Gal Gadot was cast as Wonder Woman. Yes, you did. You may not remember it. So I'm pretty sure whatever comes next, sure, there might be some big shoes to fill in some of these things, but give this guy a chance. You know, I feel like this universe needed rebooted. It needed rebooted with someone who had a vision, had a plan, because I don't believe that the previous regime ever really had a plan. A lot of throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks. And sometimes it did, Wonder Woman. Sometimes it didn't, Batman v Superman. You know, so it's one of those things where they're going to have a map, and I think that they're going to try to make them a little more self-contained. And if they're successful, then they'll do all the convergence and the team-ups and all that stuff. But again, for me, this has the perfect opportunity for Barbara Broccoli to stop being stupid, get Henry Cavill on the phone, and sign him as the next James Bond. Oh my God, this guy would be perfect. And he's actually British. It would be perfect James Bond. He would be amazing. Ever since I saw him in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., I said, holy crap, that's James Bond. Thought it would be perfect. And I know they're like, oh, we want to get like a little younger. We're hoping to get someone like in the 35-ish range. What is Henry Cavill, 40? Deal with it. The guy's in incredible shape. I think he'll be fine. This guy would be an absolute grand slam as James Bond. And all you got to do is look around the socials. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants it. So make it happen. But Barbara Broccoli, she isn't playing with a full deck up there, so I don't think it's going to happen. Plus, I think Henry Cavill just announced he's going to be doing a Warhammer series on Amazon. Okay, I've never read Warhammer, but I know that you guys are passionate. That love Warhammer, you are passionate about it. So apparently Henry is very passionate about it. And apparently it sounds like he does have creative control on this one, so you won't have the whole incident that he had with The Witcher. And also, guys, stop this myth about Henry Cavill quit The Witcher to go back to playing Superman. That's not true. That's not true at all. Do some homework. That's not true. He quit Witcher months ago. It just got announced to us later. The whole Superman thing, yeah, it was a bad look, but you know, hey, sucks. This business is rough sometimes, and they shouldn't have announced anything when they knew that new bosses were coming in. Speaking of James Gunn, I did finally watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special with the kids. It's a lot of fun, guys. It's a lot of fun. I've said I'm pretty much unplugged from the MCU except for the Guardians of the Galaxy now. I'll be watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3, no doubt. Me and my kids have watched Volume 1 and 2 about 2 billion times, so we love it. We all watch this as a family. Had a great time. It is very much the Drax and Mantis spinoff Guardians of the Galaxy story. It's a lot of fun. For me, you got Drax just being an idiot. I enjoy that. I never get tired of that. And it's a lot of fun. Of course, James Gunn's musical picks are perfect. But it's a Christmas song by the old 97s, an original Christmas song on there that is the earworm that's been stuck in my head. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. That's being added to my permanent Christmas yearly rotation that I use. So that's great. That's a really, really great song. Kevin Bacon stuff was pretty funny too. But we had a good time with it. It's nothing that I'm saying, hey, you know what? It's one of the best things that the MCU's ever done. No, not at all. But as far as a holiday special goes, it's like 40 minutes long. It was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of heart. And I enjoyed it. And it was a lot of fun. So check it out if you have not. My kids have already watched it about a dozen times. Before I go, I got to talk about Severance on Apple TV. This is one of those when I talked about recently some new shows I was going to try. I already did Succession, and I've said, hey, it's time for me to check out Severance now. And guys, I watched the whole thing this week because I'm a loser and I've got no life. So I watched the whole thing, all 9 episodes. It is the very essence of a slow burn done right. This is never a slow burn where you're bored. It's never where you're wanting to look at your phone. It's never anything where you're like, I don't want to watch the next one. You want to see what happens next because you've got so many questions, guys. And I think that this show, I have more question marks above my head in a good way since those early years of Lost, where I was really just like, okay, this makes this, having all these theories, all these things going on. Very, very Dharma Initiative kind of vibes and what's going on in this workplace at Lumen. Very, very cool story, guys. I am so invested in this. And I got to say that the finale is probably the most edge of your seat, biting my fingernails finale I've watched in a long time. Like literally like holding my breath. There was like 6 threads going together all at the same time perfectly. And you are just like, oh my God, pins and needles there at the end. And of course, huge cliffhanger. So yeah, I can't wait for season 2. Again, guys, Apple TV seems to just continue just be a home run for me. Everything I've watched, I think Foundation is the only one I flamed out on. I only got about like episode 6 or 7. I kind of got bored and just kind of walked away. But yeah, this and I think For All Mankind have been like 2 of my favorite shows of the year. So check out Severance. I know I feel like I'm the last one to watch it, but guys, Apple TV, if you got a free trial, check out For All Mankind and definitely check out Severance. I think you will like what you find. So guys, that was my week. What's your week shaping up like? Why don't you go ahead and drop in the comments. Tell me what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you are playing, and have yourselves an awesome and safe holiday weekend.